Well, good rising, grand rising SRC. I am Manala D, your host, and we are excited to bring you the 10th and final episode of the Power of Human Connectivity. We thank our SRC Mastermind contributors for sharing during this series. And as always, we thank our audience for sharing their energy with SRC. Now, SRC loves it when our audience participates. Have a question, want to make a point, raise your hand, unmute your mic, and join in the conversation regarding the topic on the table. Now, we already know what time it is, and what I'm about to say is very important. So I need you to take a moment and send to your friends and family the link that you use to connect to this live broadcast, because you already know it's going to be good. So let's get started. Now, as we unpack today, let us keep this scripture in mind. And it is in Luke, the 11th chapter, verses 9 through 10. And I will be reading from the King James Version. And it says, "And I say unto you, ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be open unto you. For everyone that asketh receiveth, and he that seeketh findeth, and to him that knocketh it shall be open." Man, that's powerful, huh? So now, let me introduce to you our very own Mark Thomas, who I call the lover of nature, or the naturalist. He is a tree hugger and is one of the people that I know who is adamant about recycling so that he can preserve the environment. He is the engine behind the scenes of SRC, and today you will hear him as he unpacks the topic, seeking ourselves. Now, I have been anticipating his unveiling of this topic, so without further ado, I invite you to join me in welcoming our brother, Mark Thomas.
Wow, that was an amazing introduction. I don't know if I can live up to that, but good morning to everybody. It's great to see everybody. Kina, I love your background. It makes me, it reminds me that there's a lunar eclipse tonight. So everybody get out there and watch the lunar eclipse and realize that you're in a very large universe. Okay, so today, just to start off, kind of a disclaimer to start with is that I will be quoting from Jesus' sermons today sometimes. So please keep in mind that SRC thinks of Jesus as a character in a biblical story who represents our highest consciousness. I don't have time to go into detail on that today, but go to any of our past shows, and especially Revelations, to understand the amazing symbolism surrounding the story of Jesus and the Bible in general. So, as Anala said, today I'm going to spend a few minutes to share my thoughts about each of us as seekers in our own lives. When I'm done, I'd really appreciate any questions or comments our panel or our audience might have. I have no doubt that all of us have at least one story on how we met someone or encountered some pivotal moment that happened because we were simply seeking for ourselves. So, let's begin. Dearly beloved, we're gathered here today. We hear these words often when we're commemorating a life or an event. We are gathered today on Zoom because we all share the same desire to do what? To seek or to search, to discover. So all of us are searchers. We search for all sorts of reasons. If we're hungry, we search for food. If we're endeavoring to do something, we search for knowledge or tools that will help us do these things, and so forth. But there's another search we do as humans, and that is to seek for spiritual enlightenment, That is what I'm going to speak about today, that kind of searching. So as Anala already stole some of my thunder by quoting from Luke, I'm quoting from Matthew, but I want to say it again. Ask and it shall be given you. Seek and ye shall find. Knock and it shall be opened unto you. In this quote from Matthew 7, notice that there is no mention of what you might seek or what you might ask or what door you might knock on. It's almost like it doesn't really matter. It's more about the seeking part or the knocking part or the asking part that matters. So let me plant a visual in your minds. Imagine that instead of us all gathered in front of our devices so that we can join SRC on Zoom today, that instead all of us are drawn to a campfire, and that the warmth and light from this fire is wisdom. It gives us comfort and illuminates our search. Through this desire for wisdom, we are connected. We come to the fire much like in ancient times when people gathered around a fire to tell their experiences and tell their stories that were full of symbolism and insight. So wisdom is defined as the quality of having experience or knowledge and good judgment, or simply the quality of being wise. So we realize that what we seek is wisdom. It is a quality that permeates our beings. I would say that of all things, wisdom, in my opinion, that of all things, wisdom or the lack of wisdom is the greatest determiner of our lives. We are all born with the capacity to be wise, just like we are born with the capacity for many things, like to love or to be empathetic. Any number of feelings you can think of, we have the capacity for these things. These are all qualities. A quality is defined, another definition, a quality is defined as a distinctive attribute or a characteristic possessed by someone or something. So remember SRC series on mini mansions. We talked at length about John 14:2, where it says, in my Father's house, there are many mansions, or sometimes called houses, sometimes interpreted as houses. In the same verse, it says, I go to prepare a place for you. So this is Jesus speaking in the Sermon on the Mount, I believe. This place is just that, a house or a home. So the place that is being prepared for us is just that. It's a house or a home, and all the qualities, and it's there to hold all the qualities that we seek in life. All these emotions that we talked about, or all these feelings that we talk about, and some qualities, and there's some qualities that we do not seek, and they find us instead. So we need to be aware of that very much. So our wisdom selects and prepares these houses. It is the temple of our spiritual life. Remember who's speaking in John 14:2. It's Jesus. Jesus is speaking, and Jesus symbolizes our highest self. We all have this I am, or this self. So we are drawn to the fire to seek out these experiences that will fulfill us. Unlike animals, we have the virtue of seeking for enlightenment originating in our higher consciousness or chakra. It is not like the search for food, like I spoke about earlier, which satisfies our lower nature and fills our bellies. No, it is instead a hunger which arises from our upper consciousness and satisfies our spiritual longings. So this is it's a hunger. It's not a hunger like a hunger for food, but nevertheless, in our daily lives, we sense that we need this spiritual fulfillment. To seek is sometimes not even a conscious action. To explain it, we might just say we're curious, or that a particular thing or idea caught our eye, and we share these ideas and feelings. This is how we find like-minded people, just like all of us here today. We have all come to the fire to give and to take. The reason I wanted to bring our nature as seekers to the forefront is because we can't find what we are missing if we don't know it exists. So once again, this is where our curious, seeking nature and life itself conspire to show us what we need to become wise. By seeking, we open ourselves to a life where we search with intent and with wisdom. This is our preparation, whether we know it or not. We are preparing ourselves for a spiritual quest for wisdom. Just to emphasize this, the very act of seeking for enlightenment makes us wiser. So what I said earlier, it's like what you're seeking for is almost, the goal is almost irrelevant as compared to the journey that it takes to get there. So meditation is another form of seeking, and at the same time, preparing our many mansions for the spiritual fulfillment that they hunger for. So one more thing before I wrap up this presentation. Notice that I did not use the word knowledge today. Earlier, I talked about qualities and how the houses of our consciousness await them. So the many mansions we spoke of, the houses are awaiting these qualities. Knowledge by itself is not a quality. Even spiritual knowledge is not a quality. Remember what Einstein said about knowledge when he said that without imagination, knowledge is basically nothing, that it means nothing. And I would expand on that and say that knowledge is really useless, or can even be dangerous without wisdom to temper it. Of course, we can and should seek for knowledge only with wisdom to direct the power that this knowledge has, because knowledge is power. Finally, I'm going to give you an example of how these many mansions can be harmful to our spirit if we are not wise. Any emotion can be a quality and set up a house in our psyche. We can choose to live in any of these houses at any time. I talked earlier about love and empathy as qualities, but hate, jealousy, and other less desirable emotions are also qualities. Remember, qualities are distinctive attributes. They're defined as distinctive attributes or characteristics. It's not like staying in a quality hotel or you have a quality car. I'm talking about the noun quality of being an attribute in yourself. If we are a hateful person, then we are living in the house of hate. The house has crowded out the other qualities we may once have had. So these other better qualities are consumed. If you are consumed by hate, then your other houses are like completely in the background. But how does this happen when we are not born hateful? Do some people seek after hate? They may, but only after hate has found them first, probably. Then once hate has found them and begun to construct a house in their psyche, then they begin to search out for more hate. So they may, so my parting question for the panel and the audience is, how do we avoid this fate? How do we avoid the fate of keeping one house from overrunning everything else? For instance, if you're hateful or jealous or even love can be an overwhelming thing, and you may become possessive and jealous in your love for someone. So that's not a good thing at all. So that's all I got. But my question is how do we not fall into that? That's all, Anala. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark Thomas. Great presentation. We certainly enjoyed that searching ourselves, right? I love that. And the question that Mark Thomas left with us is, how do we avoid some of those emotions and things of getting those things or having those things be a part of us? Because we know that when we talk about a house, we're talking about the house that the spirit dwells in, which is our body. So what you're asking is, how do we keep those things out that we do not want inside of ourselves? I love that. So let's see who has their hand up. I think I saw Kina raise her hand. I saw you do this.
I was wiping out my allergies.
Don't move when you're on this show. You get called on.
That's perfectly fine. Listen, greetings, wholeness to everyone. A beautiful day. Mark, that was great. I've been anticipating hearing you share more. I love it when you share. I love even the tone of your voice when you speak. It's just very well balanced. And oh my goodness, some of the things you shared, like I never even thought about those concepts. So, even about the qualities and them overriding each other. That's a great thing that I'll be chewing on for the rest of the day and the days to come. But even when you said it towards the end, you said even love. I thought that would really hit home for me because I'm so nurturing. I'm so super nurturing. Like if I go in a room, no one has to ask me to do anything. If I see something that needs to be done, I'll just do it. And I'm a servant at heart. So, and even though I love to do that, sometimes it can cause frustration for me when I don't see others, take initiative. So I have to balance that out, balance, not expecting other people to have that attribute or to have that quality, I had to learn to do those things that I wanted to do because of my desire and not to compare, and expect that from others. Just be at peace and be happy with who I'm choosing to be and what I'm choosing to do in that moment. But definitely need to balance those attributes, those qualities out so that one doesn't override the other and allow people to, I think, what's the word we used to use in church? Oh goodness, it'll come to me later, but thank you, Mark. That was fantastic.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you so
Thanks
much.
for the compliments. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing your information as well, Kina. I appreciate that. So now let's ask Brother Lavelle, what do you say? How do you respond to that? How do we keep some of those things out, some of those attributes that Thomas talked about, Mark Thomas talked about not letting in? How do we do that?
Well, thank you, Mark Thomas. That was excellent. What you said, I picked up on so many different points. It's something that he said during the course of his delivery, temperance, constantly tempering ourselves with each and every day and how we go about in our lives, tempering our attitudes, our disposition, our thoughts on other people, just tempering. If you're moved by anger, learn to temper it. Of course, you're not going to eliminate, if you're an angry type of person, you're not going to eliminate it all at once. But if you temper it, if you work at it, you chisel it out, then you'll find some agreeability and some fineness. But I have to go with what he's already said, is that, tempering. And then the other thing is seeking knowledge without wisdom. I have to agree with him on that note too. That can be very dangerous. That can be real dangerous if you don't have the wisdom to go along with that knowledge.
That's exactly right.
Thank you once again, Mark Thomas.
Thank you. And so I want to put a question on the table. Let's go to we'll start with Mark Thomas with this question first, and then see what the panel want to say about this, because you said something very important, and that was that sometimes you don't even have to seek the thing; it's seeking you. At least you don't think you're seeking it. So that brought to my mind that what we are seeking seeks us as well. So therefore, if you're out there seeking, you're always looking for something to be negative about. You're always looking for something to complain about. And we kind of talked about this in one of the series before when we talked about mirroring, right? So if you're always looking for something to complain about, this is gonna come to you. You're gonna find something to complain about, because what you are seeking seeks you. And I like how you broke that scripture down when you said that it doesn't matter what you are seeking. It's not, it says, and I said, you ask and it shall be given you. So therefore, asking is focusing, asking is seeing and looking for this thing. So if you're out there looking, as my mother used to tell me, if you're looking for trouble, you're going to find it. So pretty much, is that what you're saying about that, Mark Thomas, when you said that sometimes you don't have to, it's looking for you, it finds you? Is that kind of how you were putting that?
No, yeah, your mother was a wise woman and all. But something like that. I mean, these qualities, to my mind, it's better to seek them out and to find them on your own terms than it is for them to find you. Because a lot of times the ones that find you are not the good ones. So, for instance, though, if you were living in a situation, if you were living in a hard neighborhood or something like that, or you were suppose you're raised in a war-torn country or something like that, and you learn, and a lot of things are brought to you and come to your table that are not desirable, not good to have. And your best defense against that is to seek out wisdom and to find out what is what's the path you want to take, not the path that you're given. What's the path that you want to take?
That's right. I like that. And the other thing I like that you said was that, you can have, and I think that Brother Lavelle was to the point too, in saying that you can have all this knowledge, but if you don't have understanding, then what do you have? And we can go back and think about our ancestors, or those who were given the Bible and told to teach us the Bible. Well, they had some knowledge about what was in the Bible, but they had no understanding. It's not their fault. They taught us the wrong thing. But you think about that, they had a knowledge. Even the people who gave them the Bible had some knowledge, but they had no understanding of what the scriptures actually meant. So then what happens? We are passed down this knowledge with no understanding. But when we went out and started seeking the knowledge, I don't know about you guys, but when I started seeking after the truth, it seems like these YouTubes kept coming up, things kept coming to me over and over again, and it helped me to continue to grow. So when it talks about asking, it shall be given, asking is searching, right? And when we started searching, more and more information comes out to you. Brother Archie, Pastor Archie, I don't know if you're on right now, but if you are, you want to comment on that? Go ahead, Pastor.
Good morning, everyone. Good rising, top of the morning. That was wonderful, Mark. I was waiting for that. Having a little problem with my internet this morning, but that's awesome because you touched a lot of good points. One of the things that I see is that the supreme being, from where we were created, is always inviting us to move beyond where we are. And that is when we begin to look at and compare others or other religions to what we're doing, and then we can see something different from the way we've been taught, because teaching is very important. The teaching that we got, as Mark just said, if you are living in a war-torn nation, or if you came up that way, your thinking is going to be totally different than someone who lives over here in Miami, Florida somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So then, as I said before, no one is born a racist. You're not born a racist. You're taught to be one. You're taught to be one, and then as you grow, it doesn't matter what your nationality is. As you grow older, something sparks your attention and gives you that crossroad effect where you got to decide to stay where you are, or you want to seek out and find something different. See if there's something different than the life that I'm living. That's like Anala just said, as I went through the church and did my thing in the church and became a minister, and then elder, and then a pastor. There are things that I started to see because I was seeking for that higher. I couldn't understand why people act the way they did, but they call themselves holy and righteous. So where was that? It was coming from within me, I believe, to understand that religion meant to get back to where I started you from. Not so much as it's sort of like being born again, but you're going back to the supreme being's way of thinking, because where the supreme being lives at, our emotions and stuff got to go. Your emotion, when you live up there in the where the omniscience and omnipotent and those type of things are, you can't be looking at color and, hatred, you got to drop that stuff, because God, I don't care what people say, God does not act that way. It's way beyond that. And when we live up there, we have to get that wisdom.
Thank you so much for that, Pastor Archie. You're kind of breaking up just a little bit, but I appreciate you sharing that. And I know that Tamisha Burgess, did you have something you wanted to add to that, Tamisha?
No, I don't. I just came in. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Grand Rising. Awesome discussion. No, I mean, I do, I'm always the anomaly as far as, my perspective. Pastor Archie was saying, God being in the higher mind and, being able to raise ourselves up. But I always want to go back to this idea about emotions and emotional intelligence. And, realizing that our emotional intelligence, once we allow ourselves to be spiritually guided and activated and allow all of the information that comes through to us when we're searching on YouTube or, when, spirit guides something to us to watch, it helps to refine our emotional intelligence about God so that we can have this balance in realizing that God is yin and yang. God is it. There's this idea that we have about God, and this idea of perfection, but perfection is imperfection as well. But our emotional intelligence teaches us that. I know that's a whole nother discussion, and we can probably dive really deep into that. But just adding to this idea about rising to this higher mind, realizing that rising and falling is all a part of our spiritual journey.
That's right. That's right. Thank you so much for that, Tamisha. So one of the things that Mark Thomas talked about was, he said, we believe that the Jesus or the Christ is our higher consciousness. And so, I know that people would say, well, they don't believe in Jesus. This has nothing to do with our belief in Jesus. I believe, and I'm not speaking for everybody that's on the panel, I believe in a higher consciousness. And I believe that Christ is the power of God within us. And that's the higher consciousness, Mark, I think you were talking about. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's right. If you go back to our Revelation series, we go over that quite a bit, where we talk about Jesus representing our higher consciousness. Even I would even say he represents our perfect self, and something that as I said in my talk, that is preparing the way, but it's something that we have. We're preparing the way for ourselves, and you can say it's our higher self doing that. But I use Jesus in my talk as a figure in a story, and not as like we see a lot where we use him as a deity or something like that. Not at all like that. That's
right. That's right. Thank you so much for that, Mark Thomas. So when you think about even the topic of seek, and you shall find. So seek, one of the definitions when I looked up seek was searching or questioning. And one of the things that, and you go look in and get you a nice dictionary, not just one that's just going to give you the basic, but a deep dictionary that allows you to go a little bit deeper. And it will show you that most of the words that were given us or that we use, or especially the ones that were taught to us in religion, there are several other definitions for those words. And with seek, there's no difference. And one of the definitions for seek is searching or questioning. And one of the things that I've always found amazing is that most people don't want to question anything, but the Bible is telling us to do that, to seek, gain, and with all your seeking, get understanding. And so therefore, there is nothing wrong with going out and saying and seeking, who is the Jesus, who is the Christ? And when I did that, I found and discovered that the Christ is our higher consciousness. Is the Christ wasn't someone that, to me, in my opinion, my personal thing, I'm not trying to share this with, not trying to tell you guys to believe this way, but what I discovered is if there was a person named Jesus Christ, it was a person like so many of us are, walking around trying to tell us how to be better, and sharing the higher consciousness with us. And that's the searching or the questioning that we should all be doing. And I find that most of the time we don't want to do that because it's just easier to feed on the dinner that was placed in front of us. So it's easier to go to a restaurant and let somebody put something in front of you and you eat it than to be at home and prepare your own meal, actually doing the research, gathering the data for yourself. And that's what I believe we must get back to if we are to move into that higher consciousness that Mark Thomas talked about. So let me go back and ask this question, wisdom. You talked about wisdom, Mark Thomas. Break that down for us a little bit more. And when you're talking about seeking and all of that, tell us a little bit more about the wisdom that you're talking about.
Yes, like I said in my talk, is that to me, wisdom is the most important thing in determining how your life course, because as far as your decision making goes, because without wisdom, there's a good chance you're going to have problems along the way. But with wisdom, you will be it will temper your decisions, and your decision, the way you look at things will be in a way that is wise. I mean, that's about all I can say. But what I would like to add, though, and all, is that when you seek, and that's why I mentioned that when you seek, it's not necessarily what you seek, because by seeking, you are actually enlightening yourself. You're actually gaining wisdom as you seek. And it's kind of a self-perpetuating thing that the more you seek, the more wisdom you will acquire, and the more wisdom you acquire, the better you will seek. Then you will seek out the better things that are good for your spirit, that feed your spirit, not things that damage your spirit. And wisdom is also the thing, back to my question, that keeps your feelings in proportion. In other words, if love or hate or something has taken over your character, then if you're wise, you can rebalance yourself, or you can balance or keep yourself balanced, so you don't have this lopsided personality where you hate a lot, or you're jealous a lot, or you're consumed by envy, or you love too much to the point where you're possessive, or any of these things. Wisdom is the thing that evens you out and keeps you level and keeps you balanced in your life.
That's exactly right. I love that. And I think somewhere in the Bible it says that wisdom, that wisdom, and above all, seek and seek wisdom. Wisdom is like our friend, our lover type thing. And I love that. Now there's a random question that came up in this, and it's asked by Victor all the way from Nigeria. Welcome, Victor. It says, can we also call seeking ourselves as self-seeking? What do you say to that? Who wants to respond to that? Mike Thomas?
Self-seeking. Yes, I agree with that, Victor. I think that's you can seek yourself, or you can self-seek. Yeah, I do agree with that.
Okay, Pastor Archie, I saw that you was getting ready to. Did you want to add anything to that on self-seeking? The question: can we also call self-seeking ourselves as self-seeking?
Self-seek. I have to go back to what I was saying, Anala. See, the personalities are down. If you remember the spheres, the 10 spheres that we had talked about, when our personality sits down at level 10, where everybody comes in at 10 and 9, and the higher consciousness, when we get to the higher consciousness, we have actually got to self, which is where God actually lives in the higher consciousness. And that's where, if you say self-seeking, again, like I say, the higher consciousness is calling you, is probing you to move up higher. So self-seeking, I would imagine, is what the Supreme Being is trying to get us to do, is to get, when we get to self, we are actually living where God would want us to live, because that is what we were put here to do. And then you'll begin to see his abilities and all the attributes that we talk about God having, then you'll begin to see them and you'll begin to live in them, as I believe myself.
I got you. I understand. Thank you so much for that, Pastor Archie. Now, some people might say that self-seeking is you just being selfish. You're only thinking about yourself. Self-seeking, that's your egotism coming out. Or is that, can you go too far to the right, too far to the left? How's that?
I can see it both ways. I think it really depends on the hearer who hears that term, because I can hear some people interpreting self-seeking as kind of like being selfish, like seeking for myself. So I can see it both ways. I think it depends on the person who hears it, but all those terms are very similar. It makes me think about self-awareness. Like, I'm very big on self-awareness. And I think that those are all very similar. And when you're on that journey, I guess I could just speak for myself. As I've been on the journey of seeking myself, of diving deeper into myself, my higher self, my unseen self, it can appear to be selfish. I think because when you're on that path, you have to set aside time to do that. You have to set aside time to meditate. Some people who are not aware of these concepts don't understand meditation. What do you mean? Everybody's so driven to get together and hang out and do these things and go out and acquire these material things. It's like, what's going on with you just wanting to be with yourself? So it can appear to be selfish to others, I think, sometimes.
I got you. And like Pastor Archie said, we're going to go back to you, Brother Lavelle, because I want you to finish your thought. Like Pastor Archie said, when you are doing those things you just mentioned, Sister Kina, you're meditating, you're doing this, you are going to that higher quest. As Archie said, on the tree of life, you moving up the spheres, get into that higher consciousness. So I can understand that, and I can see that. And some people, while you're down there seeking and meditating, they're thinking you are being selfish. Brother Lavelle, please finish your thought. You kind of left us for a second.
Okay. Yes. So self-seeking, actually, the word self is synonymous with soul. So it's a return back to getting in touch with your soul, seeking answers to questions that you may be confused about. So you're going back into a dealing with what's the word I'm looking for? You're looking for the answers to life's challenges when you're self-seeking. And many times when you're self-seeking, it's those challenges which are very difficult. So you have to go back into your soul. You have to go into that peace or that bliss or that silence within yourself that allows you to receive the answers that you are seeking. And that usually comes from within.
Oh, I love that. Thank you so much. That's now I know that right now we are in retrograde, Mercury retrograde. Everybody's talking about that. And I am, and I know that people are seeking and searching for a better understanding of what does all of that mean. So Sister Kina, I know that you are an astrologist. I know that you really work with that. Could you just tell us a little bit what people should expect during this time so that we can get a good understanding of what Mercury retrograde really is? What are we expecting now? And what's the period of time from that? Is it because like Brother Lavelle said, we need to go in ourselves and seek and go into that quiet. So at this period of time right now, what are we going to be experiencing?
Yeah, Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury deals with technology. Mercury rules Gemini as well as Virgo. So Virgo is all about the details, and Gemini is all about being social, communicating, connecting. It deals with technology. It deals with media. So when a planet is in retrograde, it appears to be going backwards from our viewpoint here on Earth. It's not technically going backwards, but it appears to be that way. And people who have the real astrologers, I'm just a student. The real astrologers, over the years, they've studied and they've been able to correlate these experiences that we've had on Earth to the Mercury retrograde time frame. So it's a real thing. It definitely impacts us as above, so below. what's going on in the planets in our solar system have a huge impact on us. So typically during Mercury retrograde, we experience issues with technology as we have today with Brother Lavelle as well as Brother Archie, some sound and connectivity issues. People sometimes say the wrong thing or they misspeak, or it's very important to be really aware of what you say and how you say it, because things can so easily be misinterpreted, misunderstood. Things are not delivered as they should be. And as far as relationships are concerned, around this time, typically a lot of people hear from an ex. So some of you might have an ex partner, an ex lover pop up and try to reach out to you. You know, retrograde is about doing things again. It's about, you know, reviewing, repeating sometimes. And it's, you know, not that it's time to repeat those things, but those opportunities will come up for a lot of us. And it's important to really be conscious of what you're doing. Are you, you know, giving this guy another chance because he really deserves it? Or is this a Mercury retrograde thing and you need to back up and wait a little while to reconsider some of those things? So it's a lot. And I'm excited about, diving into that more.
Well, I'm so glad you shared with us, because let me tell you something. You know, Tamisha would always talk to me about, oh, Mercury, no, your mama don't do this yet because we're in Mercury retrograde. And I'm like, so one day I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna let Mercury retrograde hold me back from doing what I need to do. I'm not thinking about that. So, you know, I did this document that I was working on. In fact, I was doing a dream interpretation or something. And do you know, I lost this document about 2 or 3 times. You know, I couldn't believe it just kept, I know I saved it, but it just, the communication. So you're absolutely right about that. When you are working on a document or you think it's right and you send it out and then you look at it later and you have all these errors in it and things like that. So Mercury retrograde is for real. But is there any way, I mean, what can we do during this time? Do you just sit still? Or do you just go back and review the things you've already done?
Right, you just review, especially I also share for people who are in business, who are signing contracts, who are merging with other companies or corporations. You know, it's not that you should not move forward with these things. It's just that you should be aware of the potential for some things to be mixed up and be very careful about what you do. Some astrologists say don't sign contracts, don't do any business during that time. Others say, well, it's just not, don't let it dictate your life. You know, don't, you know, just being aware of those energies and double checking, triple checking and being conscious of it, you know, and still move forward. So, you know, as I always say with everything, trust your own intuition, trust your own inner knowing. You know yourself better than anyone else. So definitely don't let it hinder you from living life and being prosperous. Just be cautious and cognizant of the energies that we're dealing with right now.
Checking it once, checking it twice, making sure, right?
Yes.
Brother Lavelle, do you want to add anything to that?
Yes, and thank you, Kina, for that insight. Now, the the planet Mercury has to do with the number 5. And so anytime that we experience the number 5 visually, or if we do something and the numbers add up to 5, like if you get in your car and it's 203, 203 adds up to 5, you can probably get caught in traffic, or you may be sitting at the traffic light and somebody runs the traffic light just before you're getting ready to accelerate. So pay attention to the number 5 vibration or numbers as you take care of your daily business from day to day. But Mercury retrograde is very real. The number 5 vibration in correspondence or association with this time is very real. Mercury also has a lot to do, as well as the number 5 has to do with our thoughts. So we need to really weigh and measure our thoughts at this time as we go about. If things are not working out properly or as the way you expect them to be, once again, temper your thoughts, okay? Temper your thoughts in the way that you can finish and complete what you have set out to do. Don't allow yourself to become so frustrated, aggravated, or irritated by what's going on. And then the other thing is that, there can be a very, as Kina said, there can be this very strong mind-to-mind or person-to-person communication breakdown. Definitely misinterpretations of what may have been your original intent. So be very careful about following through on what you said, especially if you're working with coworkers, if you're in a corporate situation or something. Be very mindful of that. Double check, triple check. Do a lot of fact finding right now with whatever you do on a personal level, on a business level. And I'm sort of lean towards this is not a good time to sign contracts. It's definitely not a good time to buy a car. It's because you can the chances of getting a lemon is high. Yeah, it's very real. The chances of buying a phone after the second day it doesn't work, or buying a TV or any other type of technological appliance. So if you can hold out until after, what is it, June 3rd, I believe.
June 3rd?
Yeah, I think it's June 3rd. Then you want to do so. But the other thing, Mercury has a strong effect on us, especially here in North America, because the vibration for America is the number 5. When you take the dates of July 4th, 1776, and add those numbers together, it adds up to 5. And 5, of course, relates to Mercury. And our society is greatly dependent on transportation and communications. So there can be a lot of setback disruptions. There can be a lot of angry people at the airport right now because of flight delays, flight cancellations, bad storms, all kind of things. When you're dealing with the energy of the number 5, you always have to be prepared to deal with the unexpected. Keep that in mind.
Wow, got that. Thank you so much, Brother Lavelle. I love that. Thank you, Kina. Thank you, Brother Lavelle, both for that. And see, we're talking about seeking ourselves, right? Searching ourselves. And so that is one of the things we got to look at when you're talking about, as they just mentioned, you're talking about contracts, you think about whatever you're doing, whatever you're thinking about buying, search yourself. And as Kina said, you want to use your intuition, but we just heard from people who studied this stuff. And I know it's true because it's affected me before. So you may want to think about, am I going to buy something? Am I going to put something out in writing right now? Or am I going to sign this contract? Am I going to buy this device or whatever? That is very important. So what we want to do right now, because this is our last series, this is our last episode in the power of human connectivity. What I like to be able to do is I want to go back to, we're going to go to Mark Thomas last, because I want him to leave us with his thoughts on his topic today. But I do want to have each of our SRC masterminds to share their thoughts, and we're going to also go to our first SRC mastermind, and we're going to go to Pastor Archie, talk about what you do, who you are, and what you want to leave our audience with.
Okay, now this was really good. I enjoyed this, and I'm Pastor Archie Sanders, and my studies are in actually biblical studies, and I research that area, and I do a lot of I do a lot of research in the Bible and other religions, and trying to find out the connectivity. This is really good, because I want people to understand why we go through what we go through, and how we either change or if we want to change. So I leave with you today is, search yourself. See if you are in the place that you want to be in. If not, then seek a higher way or a better way, or research yourself. I mean, I look at myself a lot of times, and I'm telling myself, look, you got to move on, or you got to get out of this place. I don't want to look this way. You know, I need to lose weight or whatever the case may be. So find out where you really want to be, and that's where you seek to go at. That's what I will leave today.
Thank you so much for that, Pastor Archer. So with that, Tamisha Burgess, what do you want to leave the panel with? Tell us who you are, what you do, and what you want to leave the panel with today.
Hi, yes, I'm Tamisha Burgess. I'm Anala's daughter.
Yes, you are.
Everybody knows. Honestly, the only thing I'd like to say is, that I'm very thankful for the journey that's led us all here. Very thankful for SRC for being, for opening up the pathway and being able to talk about, what we're talking about, these shifted perspectives about ourselves, about the world around us. And earlier, somebody mentioned seek and ye shall find. When you are ready, the teachers will always appear.
Mm, mm.
And people, places, things, numbers, what we call synchronistic, patterns such as numbers, colors, animals, all we have to do is, open ourselves up to be able to receive from our teachers. And also remember that teachers come in forms that we may not always like, but they are our teachers indeed. And just allowing ourselves to be guided on this journey of ascending, of descending, and ascending, and creating our paradise on earth. That's it.
Thank you so much for that, Tamisha Burgess. So now let's go to and hear from Sister Kina Lyles. What is your ending thoughts? And who are you? What do you do?
Yes. Also, like Tamisha, want to thank you, SRC Anala. Thank you for the opportunity to join this discussion. It's fantastic. Such an honor to be here. My name is Kina Lyles, and I am a student of astrology, numerology, and all things hidden. Whatever they taught us that was bad, that we should fear and stay away from, those are the very things I have been running to and examining as I've been on my journey. I am your biggest cheerleader. My whole passion and mission, I think, since I've been on my journey, is to get as many people to come along with me as I could, to look within themselves, first of all, to know how powerful they are, second of all, and to know that you hold all the keys. You already have all the answers. You were born with them. And one of the most amazing journeys you can embark upon is looking within yourself to discover those things. So I am working on some products and services to provide to those who wish to take part. You can find me on all social media platforms using my name, my real name, Kina Lyles, and I'm excited about you and your journey. And I'll leave you with, you are the most important person. You are the most powerful person in your life.
All right, I love that. Thank you so much. And so now let's, I'm going back and forth here. Lavelle, Brother Lavelle, did I already give you that opportunity to do your lasting thoughts? I don't think so. So why don't you talk to us about who you are, what you do, and your lasting thoughts?
Okay. Thank you, Anala. Brother Lavelle Rousey Jr. I'm known as the numerologist and been doing numerology for many, many decades now. And the way that I pursue numerology is with the idea of helping and empowering people to know themselves so that they can tap into the hidden potential that's within themselves. I always am seeking to serve other people to the highest level. And it's always been my great concern to teach others as well. Dealing here with the power of human connectivity has been a great source for me. I have learned much in these last weeks of participating in the power of human connectivity. So I'd like to thank everyone else who has also participated. And let's continue and move life much further so that we can all share in the joys and the happiness that has already been provided for us.
Absolutely. Thank you for that, Brother Lavelle. And now we come down to Mr. Mark Thomas to share with us your who you are, what you do, and your ending thoughts about your topic today, because it was a very powerful topic.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm Mark Thomas. What do? I'm retired, so I don't do anything.
Must be nice.
I do a lot of things actually, but not that they get noticed that much. But my ending thoughts are is that when as you seek it, you should go through, like, because we're all searches. You're seeking whether you know it or not every minute, practically every minute of the day, and it throws you into situations, sometimes not so good, sometimes great. But the whole point is if you're aware that wisdom is coming to you regardless, there is opportunities to learn how to be wise about the way that you hold yourself, how you balance yourself. And the other thing I would say is that look to nature, is go outside, look at the sky, look at sunsets, look at whatever, and just, don't be a apartment dweller kind of thing, get outside, and nature will show you things. It will definitely teach you a lot about yourself and about everything in the world for that matter. So that's all. Anali, you want me to send it back to you? You just want me to close out?
Well, let me just say this, I am Anala D. I am your dream interpreter. I am, we're not going away, but, my Thomas is going to tell you what we're going to do in a little bit. But I tell you something, I have truly enjoyed this series. I enjoyed all of you. I love all of you. And I can't wait for us to come up with our next series that we're going to be doing and moving forward again. But I do love each and every one of you, the masterminds and our audience. I mean, those that come back with us every week and you're sharing our YouTube videos. We love you. We love you. We love you. And with that, I pass it back over to Mark Thomas to take us out, because we are, yes, over time.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks for everybody. Thanks to the panel and the audience. And I had a great time today. So all is well. So all of us here with SRC want to thank the audience for attending today's presentation. As always, we appreciate your patronage and encourage you to email us your questions or comments to shiftingreligiousconcepts@gmail.com. Don't forget, the presentation will be available on YouTube very soon. And even if you attended today's program, please go to the Shifting Religious Concepts channel and give us a thumbs up. And by the way, our YouTube presence has really increased in the last couple of months. We're over 1,100 subscribers now, and we get around hundreds of views every week, which is an amazing difference from where we started. Believe me on that. And just as a note, we are now, very, very encouraging for everyone when we see that on YouTube. So I'm really appreciated. So if you're not subscribed to our newsletter, go to shiftingreligiousconcepts.com/registration and join us. Our next presentation will be on Sunday, August 7th. So you got to page your calendar down a little bit, because we're going to take the summer off and take a little sabbatical, I guess you might say, a little regroup here. And we're going to come back though, and we are going to start a new series. Anala tells me it will be called The Power of the Subconscious Mind. So gear up for that. Okay. So until then, enjoy your summer, and we wish you all, as always, peace, health, wisdom, and love, of course.